Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to Two Toe Tags and Metal Reviews, and today we're giving you guys our review of Manual Manic Procedures by 200 Stab Wounds. So we've been listening to this album, short album might I add, 29 minutes. Not the shortest album we've ever reviewed, and I remember the last time that we had a super short album, which was Knocked Loose, we thought that was the shortest, but it actually wasn't.
Oh.
So Knocked Loose was 27. When we did Dr. Acula's self-titled album, that one was 26 minutes.
Yes.
So that was our shortest, but it's still within like 3 minutes, right? So it's still on the shorter side. So how did that go for you? Because I know you mentioned that last week that you were concerned about the length of the album.
Always concerned about the length of albums, honestly. And I think there should honestly be a time threshold that dictates what's an EP and what's an LP, instead of bands just being like, yeah, this is my album and it's 18 minutes long.
I mean, that might even go by the genre though, because there are some genres that just make like 1 to 2 minute tracks. You got like a lot of hardcore like that, punk is like that kind of vibe. So it's like I've seen albums that have like 10 tracks and it's like 16 minutes.
That's right, exactly. That's a good point. But anyway, so this album at 29 minutes, I thought was fine. I think it's a decently strong album. And it didn't feel like the kind of thing that was, getting boring because it was repeating so much. I didn't have that feeling, which is basically the scary thing about shorter albums is, oh my God, is this gonna get boring? Is it gonna feel repetitive? I did not feel that way with this album, so. How about you? Did you feel that way, or?
I mean, it's a short album, so I did a lot of frequent spins of it, and there were some points where it kind of like burnt me out a bit, but I feel like any album, if you spin it like 5 times in a row, you're gonna need to sit down and say, okay, I need to chill for a second.
Yeah.
I feel like any album's gonna do that to you.
But the thing is, not every album you can spin 5 times in a row because you don't have the time to do that.
That's true. Right? This one you do because it's only 29. That being said, there were multiple songs and multiple moments that I was always looking forward to on this album.
Okay,
like, Hands of Eternity, the opening track. Loved it when we reacted to it. Loved it last week when the album dropped. Love it the same way today. It went in my best songs of the year playlist. Like this song, ridiculously good. The intro is such an awesome build, not only to a song, but to an album. I think it was very smart to open the album with this song.
Yep.
And every time I'd get to the end and be like, oh, okay. And I'd put it on again and be like, oh, here we go, right? This song, yeah. So it totally amps you up every single time, and it's phenomenal song. Love it to death. Now, if we're speaking of builds, Led to the Chamber Liquefied, also incredible for that reason. That is the instrumental on this album. It's another amazing build that pays off with a rad solo as it just keeps going. It's really cool that it's like a mid-album interlude almost, because it's an instrumental and it's got this build to it.
It's like serving 2 purposes.
Yeah, and even so, I kind of just wish it was longer just to hear more of the awesomeness that is that song. Like, I'm just like, I love this song so much, I want more. So I think that's super duper awesome. The song, which one? The one that has Jamie on it. Ride the Flatline. The more I listen to that song, the more I really like this feature. Like the section that has him in it, super duper awesome. One thing that's kind of cool is that his vocal phrasing is the same way he would do it on like a Code Orange song.
I like that though.
It is cool, It's like he's basically taking his thing and applying it to something else.
Yeah.
So it makes for a really cool and unique mix right there. So like that, the more I listen to that song, I'm like, yeah, this feature's really good. And I mean, I love Code Orange, so it works out that way, right? There was another song, Defiled Gestation. We talked about this a bit last week, how it basically is an instrumental for half the song. I like that a lot. And the riffs in that song are really good. That one was standing out to me as well. So it's the kind of album that has like these standout moments. At the same time, there were some songs that weren't necessarily bad, but they kind of just came and went. Like they were songs that I'd even try to listen to more, be like, is there something here? And I'd be like, it just kind of is.
Yeah.
And I think when you have an album like this with multiple songs that have super duper high points, there's gonna be other points that just don't shine as much as those. So they're not gonna look as good when the album compares to itself.
Peaks and valleys is what I would say.
Yeah, and if you listen to these songs out of context of the album, they're gonna be good songs. For example, Gross Abuse, which is a song that we reacted to.
Yep.
We listened to it out of context of the album. In the reaction, it was good.
Yeah.
I listened to it on the album. Not only is it very short, it just kind of comes and goes. and that's just kind of it.
It's a minute and 49 seconds long. It's the shortest song on the album.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does just kind of come and go.
And it's like I forget it even went, and we would be on to the title track already, which is pretty good. I do like the title track. But that's kind of an issue I would find with this album. There are a few songs that do that. Parasite is another one. That's the last track on the album. I kind of feel like for an album that has really cool and creative points, the last track doesn't really end things in that much of a creative way. I like that they fade out on that jam at the end, and then they do all these kind of weird, wacky noises to end it off. But I feel like a song like that could have been a bit more creative, especially considering the first track and the middle album track are both super duper cool and interesting. The last one doesn't really live up to those 2 points on the album.
You know, I agree with a lot of what you said, except for I have to have a disagreement on Led to the Chamber Liquefied, the instrumental. And you know what? When the week started, and you can watch our first impressions, you'll see that I like this. I thought it was cool that this instrumental was there, and I thought it was really good. But the more I listened to it, the less I liked it. And I think it's because it's kind of basically 2 tracks combined into one. You got Led to the Chamber, which is the build-up.
Yeah.
And then I think Liquefied is basically the meat and potatoes of the song,
the
like
solo
the solo section, the music section of the song. And for me, the Led to the Chamber portion just lasted too long, and every time it was on, it felt like it was dragging more than building the atmosphere and the presentation. So yeah, as the week went on, that became less and less more enjoyable to listen to for me. So it didn't get a much favorable score for that reason. But a lot of the other things you said, Hands of Eternity being a super strong track, went right into the playlist. Ride the Flatline, also super strong track. And yeah, the vocal feature definitely sets this track apart, and it's a nice vocal feature. You can tell it's there, and it adds, a degree of a character to the song, and it's not just a run-of-the-mill vocal feature. It actually adds some beef to the song, which is really good. And one thing that I was reminded of, I'm always reminded of things, but if you know the Duncan Hill's Coffee jingle by Death Clock, when they're singing that song and then the background vocals go, die, die. There's parts of this song where they have a background vocal saying like things like that, and it kept reminding me of the Duncan Hill's jingle. I thought that was cool. I don't know, I like that kind of thing, so I kept thinking of that and going, that part, pretty cool. But yeah, the rest of the other songs, you're looking at, just awesome riffs. Parasite's got great riffs, has some nice drive to it. Release the Stench.
That solo that starts that song is amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, the song starts with a solo. It's a pretty wild, wacky solo. It kind of reminds me of maybe a Slayer solo, but on meth or something. It's pretty wild, but it's also really cool.
Yeah.
Right. And it starts the song with that, which is also kind of a unique thing. You don't hear that often, where songs are kicking off with solos. So that's cool. What else? So, Hands of Eternity, you kind of touched on it a bit already. I already said it's a great song. This is another thing that reminded me. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with Hawk Tuah, the Hawk Tuah girl. Anyways, people are probably gonna say, yeah, I know what it is or whatever, but it's basically this girl that went viral for saying something in an interview. But he does, at 1:45 of this song, he does like a hawk kind of thing, like right before the main verse riff kicks in, but I thought that was cool. He does it's like a throat clearing kind of thing. I don't know. Thought it was awesome, but it reminded me of Hawk Tuah. So some people might find that funny. And Defiled Gestation, which again we did talk about this in the first impression, how the first half of the song is instrumental, but man is it awesome. Just I love how there's 6 or 7 different spots where the vocals could come in, but they choose to just keep jamming. And they keep jamming, and then all of a sudden the vocals come in, they do a few little things. The solo on this song is also really good. It's like a completely tremolo pick solo, which is also pretty nice. But agreeing with TV Fish, as many kind of high points as there are on this album, there are a few songs that do just come and go. And these songs, again, if you listen to them on their own, without in the context of the album, they sound great and you can enjoy them thoroughly. But when you're listening to the whole album, these songs just feel like they're almost not there, because one song will come and you'll go, this is awesome, and then you're going da 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 da. Then the next awesome song will happen, and then you'll go, what was in between there? And I'll look at the track list and I'll go, oh, there was a couple songs there, and maybe I should go back and listen to those again. And I'll do that, and then still it just kind of comes and goes, flies by. If I really, really, really try to focus on these songs, I'll pick out little things like cool drum fills or, you know, the odd little thing here and there, or maybe like a little vocal switch up at certain points. But it was never strong enough that I felt like I needed to make a note about it, right? And that's, you know, that's a bit of a problem. So, yeah, that's my piece.
All right, well, let's get to rating this album. I'm going to open it up here and say this is an overall great album. I think, and I said this last week, a lot of death metal has kind of been lacking in like pure creativity, and this band brings that to the table.
Yeah.
That being said, I feel like with an album this short, you really need every song to count. With the way that our rating system has kind of evolved, especially the way we're kind of trying things now, it's the kind of album where like every song is kind of worth a lot of points. So, you know, while there's some amazing, incredible stuff on this album, there's stuff that just kind of flew by. And while I did like the album a lot, it's unfortunately not going to get a toe tag for me. It's just very barely shy of it. It's getting a 7.5. Brutal.
You know, that was very well said. I can basically parrot all that as well. One thing I'll add is that I like the fact that this, and we brought this up before, this brings an old school sound to a new school audience. And, you know, when listening to this, I'm reminded of older death metal albums like Left Hand Path and Effigy of the Forgotten and other stuff like that, Human by Death and things like that. And I think that's really cool that they have that sound and that body, but with a modern touch to it. And I just want to give a little bit of kudos for that because, you know, that's a strong feature, I think. But yeah, as enjoyable as this album and this genre is, it's not easy for this genre to get on the toe tag list just by nature almost, right? Because they're almost limited in how much they can do. And you know, if they start going out too crazy, too wild, they're starting to change genres at that point. So my score, based on how I rated the tracks throughout the week, landed on a 6.
All right, well, a 6 from Vile's self and a 7.5 from myself. Not enough to make the 2 toe tag list, but you know what? We still enjoyed this album, and we love to hear how you guys feel about the album. So tell us in the comments below, what do you think of this album a week after its release? And that's all we got for you guys today. So like the video if you liked it, and subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. I'm TV Fish.
I'm Vile's self.
Keep the horns up.